Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. On today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you how I made this bustier gown with a bow tie at the back and a gathered flare. So if it's your first time viewing my channel, please hit on the subscribe button and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. So this is the pattern paper I'm working with. The first thing you're going to decide is where you want your gown to start. So I want mine to start from -5 so that it's not going to be showing much cleavage. So this is actually like a tube gown. So I'm going to place at -5 and I'm going to mark my shoulder to bust line, which is 9 inches, and from there I'm going to mark my under bust line, which is 12 inches, and then I will mark my waist length, which is 17. I'll be going up by 1 inch because I'll be adding a 1 inch band to this dress. So just in case your shoulder to waistline is too long, you're going to go up by 2 inches from your waistline, or you're going to make use of your half length, which is your shoulder to bust plus 3 inches. So I'll go ahead, take my tape, and I will place it here, and I will start my measurements again. I'll place my tape, remove 5 inches from the top. I'll mark my shoulder to bust point, my shoulder to under bust, and my shoulder to waistline. From my waistline, I'll go up by 1 inch. After drawing out the line, the next thing I'm going to do is to write out my measurements. My bust point, my under bust point, my waistline, and where the tube is going to end. So as you can see, I made a mark just to show you that I'm going to go up by 1 inch from my waist. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, and I'm going to mark at the under bust and also where I went up by 1 inch, and I will mark at my waistline. So I'm going to cut out my waistline, but I'm just going to do that later. So I'll go ahead and also mark it at my bust and at the upper part of my pattern paper, and I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to go ahead to rule a line. So the next step I'm going to take is to mark 1 inch that's at both sides of my top length and on my under bust. So if you're on the plus size, you're going to go ahead to mark 1.5 inches, and I'm going to go ahead to connect that line. So I'll be introducing my French curve. I'm going to place it, draw a line from my bust line to my under bust, and I'm going to do the same thing the other side also. Next, I'll be marking in 1 inch at both sides of the upper part of my pattern. So after doing that, I'll take my ruler and I'm going to connect it to that line this way, and I'm also going to connect to the other side of the line also. I'll go ahead and I will outline it with my marker. Next is just to draw your cup styling. So I don't want much design. I'm just going to do a little sweetheart neckline on this part. I'll go ahead and I will connect the neckline. Is to insert my body circumference, and at this point I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, measure out the dart intake, and I will just add 1 inch for sewing allowance. I'll measure whatever I have at the chest line, and I'm going to transfer it back to the bust line this way. After marking that, I'll go down to my under bust. I'll measure my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure my dart intake, I'll mark and add my 1 inch sewing allowance to the side. And at my top length, I'll be inserting my waist circumference divided by 4, and I'm going to mark whatever I have at the dart intake. I will replace it and mark my 1 inch sewing allowance. So what I'll do next is just to connect the line from my under bust to my waist, or that 1 inch I came up from, and down to my bust line, and from my bust line I'm going to take it up to my chest line, and I'll go ahead to outline what I have already, and I will draw a line at that 16 inches just to show you that's where I'm going to stop, and I'll go ahead to cut out my pattern. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit on the subscribe button and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. So after cutting out, this is what I have. So next, this is my pattern, and I've gone ahead to add ½ inch round it, and on the other side I added ½ inch in front also, and I didn't add by the side, I added by the upper and lower part. So I cut this particular one on fold because it is the center piece of the dress. So I cut out the lining, and this is it, and this is the gum stay I ironed out for this. So you're going to place the shiny part on the lining and you're going to go ahead to iron. So this is the fabric, and I'll be cutting a wording for it. I'm going to unpin the pattern for the side, so I cut out 2 pieces, and this is it, one for this side and one for the other side. So I'm going to place my lining on the shiny part of the gum stay, and I'm going to iron. So to avoid getting confused, you can actually notch the side that is facing the center piece, so with that way you won't really get confused. So I'll place the lining facing the shiny part of the gum stay, and I'll go ahead to iron. And on this also, on the fabric, I'll be cutting out a wording for it. So this is my center piece, and I'll be placing it on fold to cut out. So now after pinning it, it's time to cut it. So from the underbust, I'm going to bend it over this way, and I'm going to mark a line. So from that line, I'm going to come out by ½ inch, and I'm going to follow ½ inch around it, and on the upper part also I'm going to place ½ inch around it. So now I'm going to go ahead to cut this out. So after cutting it out, the next thing I'm going to do is just to open it up for you to see. So this is what I have, and I will be ironing the shiny parts. I'll be facing the shiny part up, and I will iron it on this fabric just like this. For the sides also, I'm going to place it on fold because I'm cutting 2 sides also for it. I'll place my tape at the bust point. I'll mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, and I'll go ahead to add ½ or 1 inch. So this is because the bust is fuller at the sides, so I just like it to cover my bust very well. So from that point, I'll just draw a curve and I will take it up this way. So the next thing I'll do is just to cut out that shape I have there. But before I cut it out, I will be adding ½ inch round it and on top of the pattern, just like I did for the other one, and I'll go ahead to cut it out. So I'll go ahead and I will cut it out. After cutting it out, this is what I have, and I'm going to be opening it up. I'll take the shiny part and I'll place underneath it this way, and I'll also do that for this part, and I will go ahead to iron it. So I'll be showing you the next step before I'll go ahead to iron it. So what I'll do is I'll place the right side facing the right side, and I'm going to go ahead to stitch with ½ inch, and on the other side I'm going to place it, and I'm also going to stitch with ½ inch. So whatever I do here, I'm also going to do it on my lining piece. So I'm done sewing, and this is what I have. Next is to join the lining to the main fabric. So before doing this, I cut out a spaghetti strap which is about 2 inches by 14 inches. So I'll go ahead and I will sew it down, and I will turn it up to the right side, or you can just fold and top stitch. After that part I joined, I'm going to measure 1 inch from it. So from this joining I have at both sides here, I'm going to measure 1 inch from there, and I'll be putting my straps. So I'll also do the same thing for the other side as I am doing on this side. So I'll just pin it facing the right side of the fabric. So just like I said, I repeated the same thing for this part also. After doing that, I will be introducing the lining part, and I will place and I will pin it to the right side of the material, facing the right side of the lining, and I'll pin it down. So after pinning it down, I'll stitch up the neckline and the sides. So I'm done sewing and I've inserted my straps, and I turned it to the right side. Next, I'll be inserting my measurements on it, because the back is just like a fabric that you'll be tying at the back. So I'll place my tape at that -5. I'll mark my shoulder to bust point, so shoulder to my under bust, and this is where my top is ending. So I'll just measure what I have at the middle part. So what I have is 16.5. So my bust circumference is 33 divided by 2. I have 16.5. So what I'll do is to minus this and half from 16.5. I have 10 inches left, so I'll be marking 5 inch on the both side. Since the back is like a rope that you're going to tie, so I'm not going to mark exactly 5 inches. I'll just mark 4.8 inches to make sure it is tightly fitted. So at my other bust, I'm going to measure what I have at the center. I have 5 inches there. So my under bust circumference is 28. My divided by 2, I have 14. 14 minus 5, I have 9 inches. So I'm going to place my tape and I'll measure 9 inches divided by 2, which will give me 4.5. So I'm going to go ahead to mark it, but I won't mark exactly 4.5. I'll just take out 0.2 inches from it, so I'll be marking 4.3 because there's no zipper at the back, so I want this dress to be tightly fitted. So you're going to insert your waist measurement, but since my waist and my under bust is the same thing, I will just go ahead to mark the same measurement at the waist point. So next, you'll be introducing your back piece, and this is my back piece. So this is about 35 inches of length, and I went ahead to fold it round. So for the width, you're going to measure what you have at your back, and after measuring it, you're going to remove like half or 1 inch from it so that it won't get to the end of the fabric. You're going to place the front side facing the front side, and you're going to go ahead to stitch it up by that side. So just like I said, whatever you're attaching at the back is supposed to be ½ inch or 1 inch shorter than your front length. So after attaching for that part, you'll be attaching the other part also, and you place it this way and take the front side facing the front side, and you're just going to go ahead and you're going to stitch it down. So let me go over to the machine and I will fold the material. So after joining it, this is what I have, and the next thing you'll be doing is to fold this up this way. That part that you joined it from, you're going to fold it in very well. So the length of my spaghetti strap is 14 inches. So you're going to fold it this way, and you're going to place it inside, and you're going to top stitch at the back of the dress just this way. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin it down. Also be repeating the same process for the other side of the dress also. I'll go ahead and top stitch it on the sewing machine. Now the next step you're going to do is to fold your dress over. So from that joining at the both sides, that's where you're going to fold it, and you're going to notch. Now we'll be introducing a band for this dress. So I cut out 2 bands. The band is 2 inches by 30 inches. So this is the total length of my waist plus my zipper allowance. So my waist is 28. I added 2 inches for zipper allowance. That's 1 inch on both sides. So I'm going ahead to notch the center, and I'll place it at the notched part of my dress this way. And I'll also go ahead and take the other one, and I'm going to fold it into 2 also, and I'm going to get the center, and I'm going to go ahead to notch. So after notching it, I will be attaching it to the back side of this dress. So I'll be placing the right side of the fabric to the right side of the lining, and I'm going to pin it down with 1/2 inch. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to place the dress at the center, and I'll place the 2 bands, and I'm going to go ahead to sew, leaving the dress in between the 2 bands, and I'll continue sewing with 1/2 inch to the end of the band. So after sewing, this is what I have. So I'll go ahead to iron the bands down so that it will be flat. After ironing my band, I'll be introducing the lower part of my dress. So the full length of what I have is 2.5 yards. So, and if you're on the bigger size, you should use like 3 inches or 4 inches of length. So the total length of my gown is 26 inches plus 2 inches allowance. I have 28. So what I did first, when we started, I drafted the upper part of my dress, which is 17 inches in total. That's the upper part plus the band is 17 inches. So you're going to be minusing 17 inches from 38 inches. So whatever I have left, I will go ahead and fold the lower part, and I will sew a gather stitch on the waist. I've gathered the waistline of my skirt or the lower part of my dress, and this is what I have. So I'll take the band of my dress and I will be adding it or attaching it to the lower part of my skirt, and I'll stitch with 1/2 inch this way. So after gathering your skirt, make sure it's the same length with your band. I'm done sewing. This is what I have at the waistline. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead to attach zipper to the side, to the back of the dress. To attach your zipper, you're going to fold it up this way. So for the rough side of your dress, you're just going to weave that part out. You're going to fold the 2 sides of the back together this way. Run a 1 inch stitch by the side, and then you're going to leave about 6 to 7 inches to attach your zipper at the upper part of the dress. So with this, I'm done with today's tutorial. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and join me in my next video. Thanks.